For question 1, you need to read a source and fill in a series of prompts on the question paper. Before we read any of the information in the source, we need to make sure we have read carefully the topic of the question. So we are looking for the inquiry. Okay, so when we look at the exam paper like this, you will see the inquiry at the top. And here it says, give 2 things you can infer from source A about the early development of the Nazi Party. So we're not just reading this source for any reason, we are looking for information about how the Nazi Party started. So when we look at the source, we can see it comes from Ernst Röhm. It's his memoirs. They were published in 1928. So this was really before the Nazis became a major party. And he's written down his experiences at this time. And Röhm was the leader of the SA at a number of different occasions and was involved in the party early days. So he says, I introduced all my army friends to the German Workers' Party. This was how we built up the movement in the early days. So basically he's saying we built the movement up because of my friends. In February 1920, the party presented its policies to the public for the first time in the 25-point programme. From that day on, the party membership began to increase so much that we had to move the meetings to much larger venues. After overcoming his opponents within the party in 1921, Adolf Hitler was elected the first leader of the renamed National Socialist German Workers' Party. Okay, this is the name of the Nazi Party, the formal name. So we're going to look for 2 inferences here about the early development of the party. So that's quite broad, and we could look for things that say, why did it develop? How did it develop? Even information about the nature of its development, so what kind of party was it? So there's quite a lot we can say here. So when we look down below, you can see that we've got a series of prompts, and I've made this possible in the form for you to do step by step. And that's the structure you do in the exam paper, and I've asked you to summarise that beneath so you can do that in your own time. And what we're going to do now is we're going to make an attempt to infer. So, what can I infer? Well, if we look at the quote again, what does it tell us? It tells us that the German Workers' Party was small until certain members of the army joined. So we can certainly infer that Röhm believed the party expanded because he brought in so many new members, suggesting he was important in the early development. So Röhm is basically taking some credit there, isn't he, and saying, I did that, that's me. And the information in the source we can find, well, we could just take that first whole section there, introduce all my army friends to the German Workers' Party, this was how it was built. So you would then copy and paste that out. So I introduced all of my friends, my army friends, all of my army friends to the German Workers' Party. This was how we built up the movement in the early days. Right, let's get that in. So really what we're doing is we're selecting a quotation and we're following it up with, we're inferring from a quotation and following it up with a direct quote which shows where we got this information from. The next thing to do is to look back at the source again and to find another inference. So I'm going to leave you to attempt to do that yourselves, but think about what else we learn here. You might want to look at, for example, the policies, what made it successful, or even the people, who else made it successful. So there are 2 suggestions for you to do that. Have a go at the question now and fill in your answers before moving on to question 2.